Position number 1 is on steps. We are going to be taking G3 position. Instead of going in the standard bush, which can be blind fire, or enemy light tanks can go YOLO, by going behind this rock, not only you are spotting tank destroyers, spotting rotations of the heavies, but also, most importantly, if you're fast enough, you can spot light tank going in the bush. And on the top of that, spotting medium sitting behind those bushes. And to be able to spot them, you need to have CVS. And the reason why I like this position so much, it's because I'm able to do damage myself on those mediums or at the heaviest tank destroyers. And even if I get spotted, I can always get back in cover. And also it is very easy to leave this position once there is nobody else getting spotted. Position number 2 is going to be on Erlenberg. We are going to occupy F7 position. Any bush is going to work, but you have to be careful if you are playing against EBR, because they are faster, they might be able to spot you. But the purpose of this position is actually very clever. So we are playing against 3 light tanks, and if I were trying to spot on the ridgeline, I would be getting spotted by enemy light tanks. And to make sure that we are winning games or having amazing end game, my goal is to counter light tanks. And so by sitting in this position, I'm close enough to spot lights trying to go in the bush on the top. And if my tank destroyers are decent enough to connect those shots, those light tanks are gonna be dying. And to make sure that the chances of tank destroyers hitting your shots much higher, you can always type in the chat ping and which bush they are going to get spotted. Safe position to counter light tanks when there is a lot of them. Enjoy. Position number 3 is on Tundra. On this map, going on the hill is extremely important. But I hate this 50-50 gamble, because you never know how many of the enemies is going to take the hill. And so in situations when enemy have faster setup, I like to go in D5. From here, I'm able to do damage at the enemies crossing onto the hill. You can catch mediums and heavies. And as well as those tanks picking on the ridge at their base. The only problem of this position is once you get spotted, you want to get back in cover. And if enemy have the hill already, they will have clear shot on you. So make sure not to stay here for too long. Position number 4 is going to be on Westfield. On this map, having control over K0 almost secures you a victory. And the reason behind this is because bases are totally open. And if you have control over this part of the map, you can always spot both of the bases. But sometimes you can have a medium tank in your team like Super Pershing, and enemy is going to have Progetto or Barask. And so for them, going in K0 is easier because they are faster, they have camouflage, while your Super Pershing is going to be climbing uphill to fight heavies. And in situations when enemy have faster setup to occupy K0, I do not like to risk, and instead I'm going in E5 position. By going here, not only I'm spotting tank destroyers trying to peek over here, but also those mediums and tank destroyers that are trying to shoot by their light tank assistants on our slow mediums. And by killing those guys, by shooting, I can always go back in cover and be safe. And once those guys are dead or they run away, I can occupy those positions myself. Connect shots on tank destroyers that might be getting spotted here or mediums. So whenever you're playing on Westfield and you see that going in K0 can be problematic, play around the city and you're going to ensure yourself nice games. Position number 5 is on Erlenberg again, but from the north spawn. Previously we were trying to counter light tank that would go over to the windmill, and to make sure that you aren't getting spotted trying to get in this bush, what you can do is to play in the grass. Grass gives you 25% of camo for a single grass bush, and by spotting tank destroyers on the other side, you can shoot them. And if you are getting spotted, that means there is a light tank in the position that you saw earlier, and so you need to be more careful. But usually tank destroyers doesn't have enough range to spot you. A little trick for you guys. Whenever you aiming at tank destroyers, you can wait until they start moving. In case they're using binoculars, once they start moving, their view range is going to drop. So whenever you're shooting at tank destroyers in this position, just wait for them to start moving and you can fire without getting spotted. Position number 6 is going to be on Lakeville. And although this map has variety of bushes that you can take, for example, going behind the rock here or sitting in the bushes by the water, I do not like going in predictable positions because especially if enemy has EBRs, they can just rush. And then you're stationary in the open field while EBR is running away 90 kilometers per hour. So instead, if you are playing with the tanks like Manticore, T100 Light or IMX M13105, and enemy doesn't have 3 lights, for example, because the chances of you getting spotted in this position is quite high. So I would go here if there is like 2 lights or maybe 1 light tank, and from this bush you're able to spot rotations of the enemies at the beginning of the battle, and all of the mediums and tank destroyers going here will gladly connect shots at the moving forces into the city. Chances are you're also going to spot tank here or behind the rock if they start moving or shooting, and after that it's just a piece of cake. Make sure that you turn your vehicle in the bush in the direction of your base, because if enemy is going to rush like this, you want to escape as quickly as possible. Position number 7 is going to be on the ghost town, and you are able to use it on both sides. You have hill with the bushes here and on the other side. The reason you want to take this position and do not play in the line of the bushes is because how camouflage works in World of Tanks. And if light tank has 50% camo, which a lot of tier 10 light tanks can achieve, you are going to be spotting each other within 50 meters radius. So instead, by sitting on the hill over here, you are able to spot light tanks pushing closer, and you can shoot them, go down from the hill, and be safe. On top of that, you can see tanks trying to approach like this, and you can even shoot them once there is bushes between you and enemies. Sometimes when I'm playing with the EBR 105, for example, I like to push all the way over here, and you can spot those tanks much earlier. In general, playing on Ghost Town around these bushes can be extremely frustrating, and if you have tank destroyers behind you, ask them to blind fire the same position on the other side, and sometimes they're going to connect shots and that light tank is going to run away. Position number 8 is going to be on Ensk, one of the worst maps for the light tanks, but if you happen to be playing on this map, I have a trick for you to make sure that you aren't dropping your mark of excellence and you are going to be useful for your team. Playing from north side and from the south side as well, I like to play on these corners. Being a light tank with the 45% camo plus, you aren't going to be spotted by the tanks peeking on the other side, here for example, but if they are closer, you are going to be spotted. And it gives you a flexibility to give vision at the enemy rotations, going back and forth, and also if there is no enemy on the other side, what you can do, guys, is to push a little bit forward and start hitting heavies on the side. Just make sure that you paying enough attention at the tanks that might come to counter you from the sides, but playing around these tracks is extremely profitable because it works from both sides. From south, you're able to go here and once again have side shots on the heavy tanks. Position number 9 is going to be on Studzianki. And one of the biggest problems that I see light tank players doing here is trying to rush for the deep at the beginning of the battle. It can work if your team has enough forces to counter enemies, but because I never know how the game is going to develop, I do not like taking this risk, because if enemy are pushing with a greater force, you have to escape, and it can mean that you are going to die. So instead, I recommend you playing on the A5 position. Here, by peeking behind the bush with a tank that has over 50% camo, you are not going to be spotted as long as you are in the bush against mediums, light tanks, unless they have CVS. So what I recommend you to do first is to pick on the ridge line and go back immediately. If you did get spotted, that means there is someone with a CVS on the other side. If you are not getting spotted, congratulations, you are going to outplay those mediums every single time. Just sit in the bush until they expose their vehicle a lot and wait for your RT, maybe for tank destroyers to connect shots, and after that you can fire them, retreat, in cover, and repeat this process until they are dead. Something to pay attention whenever you are playing here is how your south side is doing. And if you see that your team is not having control over these positions, make sure to rotate over to these bushes, and you are going to provide great vision on tanks who is pushing here, and the enemies are going to be shot by your teammates from the factory, and ask your tank destroyers to be sitting here, and you're gonna have a lot of assistance. Our position number 10 is going to be on cliff. Same problem as on Studzianki. Light tanks, for whatever reason, trying to go to the lighthouse. Maybe I understand, light tank, lighthouse, you know what I mean? But quite often you can be killed by going there or lose significant amount of HP. And so instead, what I like to do is to play first, second line. You can be sitting in the bushes just in the middle of F1 or behind the rock. But make sure that there is no heavy tank behind you, because he is going to be getting spotted if there is a medium with the CVS in D1, or if he is overpicking against light tank on the opposite side. So not to lose HP to the blind fires, make sure there is no heavy tank behind you. And by sitting here with the CVS, you're going to be getting spotted tanks like Grille or FV at the moment they're peeking behind the bush. You can fire there and go back and cover, or wait until your team is going to connect shots. If you plan on playing around those bushes and you see a lot of fast tanks approaching like this, what you can do is to push on the top over here and have connecting shots on the enemies peeking on the middle, or alternatively go all the way here and try to spot tanks sitting behind those bushes. On cliff, you can have amazing scout rounds. Just make sure you aren't wasting your life going on the top of the lighthouse. Gentlemen, these 10 positions were used from high-level commentary for Manticore. And although knowing those positions is extremely important and going to help you a lot, if you would like to see how I'm developing my games after occupying those positions at the beginning of the battle, please check out high-level commentary. And if you learn new positions for yourself and get ideas how your late tank gameplay can be better, consider liking and subscribing to this channel. More videos like this is coming, so please let me know how we can improve them.